am very happy to welcome to the Super Podcast today, Dr. D. David Schultz. He's a man who fascinates and captivates wrestling fans to this day. Dr. D, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you, Brian. Good to be here, buddy. It really is. I'm just sitting down here, relaxing, enjoying the good weather here in Tennessee, and good talking to you. Glad you got me on.
I'm glad I was able to reach you on the compound there. I know you have a lot of things to do, but before we get going with this conversation, I want to, of course, at the very top here, tell everyone that you have a new book that you have done with John Cosper, a friend of the show, a great wrestling historian, called Don't Call Me Fake, the real story of Dr. D. David Schultz. What made you decide that this was the time to write a book?
Well, I tried to write a book two different times in the last 10 years, I guess, and Vince McMahon always stepped in and squashed it. He would tell the companies that was writing it, the people who were writing it, if you write this book, then you don't write none of my books. That's what I was told anyway, And it seemed like nobody wanted to write what I wanted to write. They wanted to fix everything and add what they wanted. And I said, no. We're going to tell the truth, man. Everything's going to be truthful in this book. If it's wrote, it's going to be truthful. And John can vouch for that. I told him, no shortcuts, no lies, no nothing. And as John was writing it, he was fascinating because John, he's a pretty smart fella. But when I started talking to him and telling him things, he's going, oh, my God. Oh, my goodness, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, no, you didn't, did you? And then we got into the bounty hunting part of the book. That was my next life after wrestling, was bounty hunting. And he was at all on the bounty hunting. And, my wife has read the book 4 times, and she said, I can't believe I'm sitting here reading this book for the 4th time, but every time I read it, I pick more stuff up. And she said, I lived this life with you 48 years, and we went to high school together. And she said, I still can't put the book down because I want to see what's going to happen the next time. What's going on here? And I said, well, that's a good sign, ain't it? And she said, yep, I guess it is. But it is a fascinating book. I mean, I enjoyed it going through it. And, we had to stop somewhere because John told me, he said, David, if we keep going, we're going to have a 1,000-page book. And people don't want to read 1,000 pages. Well, maybe they do. And later he said, they probably do if it's this good.
Yeah.
And, but I think it's almost 500 pages, 400 some odd pages. But it's a fascinating book, and everybody that's read it has said, oh, my goodness, I can't hardly put it down because I want to see what's happening, And it's not the typical wrestling book, It's telling just like John Stossel. We started off with him right at the first of the book because we was trying to get the story out there how I became a bounty hunter. Well, 250 pages later, we got off of John Stossel in wrestling. But it is very, very good, very well put together. And we had a couple of companies that actually wanted to run with this book. But when they talk to you and they say, well, we want to do it the way we want to do it. We want to change this. We want to change this. I said, no. That's not, no. And he said, you will get out to more places. And I said, the money and stuff is not that important. I want to get the facts out here about me that people don't know about Dr. D. David Schultz. Well, they got an honest view of me after they read this book. And they turn around and say, oh, my God, he is an asshole, lady. No, not really. I was telling John that, and he's kind of laughing about it, but it's a absolutely fabulous book. I've even offered people, they say, I don't know, man, I don't know if I want to read the book. I said, well, I'll tell you what, you read it, and if you don't like it, I'll give you money back. And they go, I know. Some of them cheap people I know. There's a lot of them cheap people running around, that don't want to spend a dime for nothing.
There sure are.
But we catch up with them down south. They will finally give in. I may have to take a couple of chickens in on trade, but that's okay.
Well, you mentioned bounty hunting, and we're going to talk about all the wrestling stuff, but I want to start with that because I know that you're very proud of your wrestling career, but I always got the opinion from afar, because I haven't known you until this conversation here today, but I always have the opinion that you really had a lot of pride about how successful you were, and I guess how successful quickly you were as a bounty hunter. Is that correct?
Yes. I was after Vince McMahon, Vince got rid of me because of Stossel. I kept wrestling overseas, different places, local play. I mean, I was doing pretty good for the 2 or 3 years, but after TV, you don't get on TV. People come up and they start cutting your price when you go. And I demanded a high price, And finally, I had some guys come to me, private investigator stuff, said, would you be interested in bounty hunting? I said, well, I've heard the story in the Old West. What's up with it? And they explained to me and all this. And the first guy I went to get was a motorcycle guy, is Diablo motorcycle gang up in Connecticut. And they said, nobody wants to go get this guy because they're scared of him. I said, why is anybody scared of somebody? And he said, well, if you go get him, you'll get a handsome payday. Like, I don't know exactly what it was at that time, $10,000, $15,000 or whatever. So I went in 2 days and had the guy, took him in jail, and put him in jail, and they paid me. I said, oh, this is okay. So thousands of pickups later, I did that full time for about 17 years, and I brought people in from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, San Domingo, all over the United States. I brought in murderers, rapists, armed robbers. I mean, I had them all, And I had the people calling me from all over the United States to work for them, bondsmen and insurance companies all over the United States wanted me to work for them. And then, it got where they wanted you to do it by a phone call. I said, hey, David, can you go pick this guy up? He's no. It don't work like that. I've got to have paperwork from you. I've got to have arrest warrants. I got to have rearrest warrants. I got to have all the facts, this here. And now they don't look for these people probably a year and kept telling the court they're going to find them, and nobody could find them. So they called me. And as of today, there's never been nobody that I hadn't found. Now, a lot of people I would be working on looking for, they would get busted by the police, and that automatically take the bondsman off the bond, and I wouldn't have to look for them no more. But for as not finding somebody, I found everybody. I worked for the FBI. They had a guy and 2 girls. The guy had 2 girls kidnapped. I think it's 14, 15-year-old. And they looked for them for 3 years and couldn't find them. So they called me in their office and made a deal with me, which they reneged on after I found them. But I found them and brought them home within 6 months. And they've been looking 3 years for them and had no idea where they were. So anyway, that story's in the book. I won't tell too much about that, but it was a long, hard, hunt there. I brought in other guys that was part of the Shower Posse and Jamaican drug gangs and bad boys. I didn't have no trouble after I found them, but they were really hard to find. And it tells about that in there too, what went on. When I thought I had them, I'd hit the house and they'd be out to eating dinner. And then, they come back, the police car sitting at their house, so I missed them. Now I got to keep going with my informants and all. And one of them had a license in Virginia. He had a brand new license sent to him every 2 or 3 weeks with his face on it and a different name. If the police stopped him, it showed he wasn't wanted at all. But I found him in Atlanta, Georgia, and the police come up to the room with me because I had to report in at a big hotel. And he said, they went to the door and they asked if he was the person. I won't say his name for you, it'll be in the book. And he said, no, it's not me. Showed him phony ID. And they said, Doc, that's all we can do, man. That's it. We can't do nothing else. He has ID that he's not wanted. I said, okay, so y'all are through with him? Said, yep. So I grabbed him by the hair, pulled him out in the hall, and handcuffed him, and pushed him back in the room and told the cops, I said, I'll be out in just a minute. They said, oh, we hope you know what you're doing. So I got him back in the room, and I said, hey, here's the way it's going down, man. I know you're the guy I'm looking for. You're Andrew, and I know you got ID in these bags, and I know you got drugs in these bags. So if you keep insisting you're not him, I'm going to let the police come in, and they're going to search your bags and get a warrant for it or get somebody, a dog or something up there. You're going to jail here for a long time, and then you'll be extradited back to Connecticut. He said, no, man, you got me. It's me. So I let him put on a pair of pants and shirt and took him out in cuffs, locked the door, and his uncle was in another room in the hotel. And I gave him the key to the room, said, here's Andrew's key, man. Y'all might want to clean that room up. And, it wasn't up to me. police said, we're through. We can't do nothing, you know. So they took him to the airport, put him in jail, held him there until I got ready to leave, brought him out, put him on the plane. There we went. But that was a hard one, man. I missed him about 5, 6 different times in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. I was one step behind him because he was so powerful. Everybody was telling him where I was and what I was doing and the questions I was asking and all that, you know. But
you got your man.
Oh yeah. I always got them, and you know, sometimes it took a little longer, and sometimes it was pretty quick. You know, faster than they thought. But you know, when you're bounty hunting, though, see, the bondsmen they get a paper from the court saying, "Hey, this guy skipped bond. You either bring him in or pay the court." And they've got about 6 months to do that. So they go out and look for this guy themselves and all their other people they got looking for him. And they go to the people's houses and scare the hell out of everybody and tell them they're going to sue them, take their house because they signed the bond. And it just scares the hell out of everybody. And then they can't find him. Now the boy that's running gets really scared, and he was probably in the house hiding all along, and they couldn't find him looking for him. So now they come to me and say, "Hey, we ain't got but 30 days left. We got to have him." You know, now I got to go to these people and talk to them and convince them that I'm there to help the kid or the guy, whoever he is, you know. And most time they told me where they were or gave me a phone number. And from a phone number, I can automatically get the address, no matter where it's at, whatever it is, you know, with my contacts I had. But, you know, you go in there and you're already on the downside because these people, that guy's done left because they done scared the hell out of him, you know. And I usually got them in another state somewhere. I mean, you know, I'd go to California. I'd get a tip that afternoon, jump on a plane, go to California, pick them up, and be back the next day. And but these people, you know, they're dangerous people now. They'll hurt you if they get a chance. But most of the time, I've found that people that has jumped bail does not carry a gun with them when they're on the street. See, that's one thing I learned a long time ago, you know, when I first started. You know, these guys are not going to be carrying a gun on them walking the street because the cop stops them or they have a problem. They go to jail, and then they do not get out on a bond until they're confirmed by the fingerprint through the United States fingerprint system, FBI, and all that because they had a gun. Now, if they don't have a gun, they can go to jail and get bonded right out. I mean, you know, they go in and say, "Hey, my name is Jose Gonzalez." Okay. Date of birth, February 15th, 65, whatever. And they say, "Okay, Jose, your bond is $10,000. They make a phone call. Their drug dealers got them out within 30 or 40 minutes, an hour, because, I mean, it's not a big charge. It's just drug charge, you know. But if they had a gun, they couldn't get bonded out. They would be held until all the positive identification made on them. So, you know, that gives you a good indication that people don't have guns. But I ain't saying all of them don't. I got a lot of guns off of people, you know. I mean, a lot of them had guns on them, but a majority of them don't, especially the young kids that are running, you know. But the old-time drug dealers and all, oh, my God, you got to watch it. Got to watch their wives, their girls, their boys, all of them. You got everybody to watch, you know. But it's exciting, though. It keeps your blood pumping, your heart, keep you alert. And then sometime after you get the guy, you say, "Oh, my God, I'm lucky to get out of that without getting shot." But, you know, it's a good life, though. It was. Now it's getting where you have to have a lawyer with you if you break into a person's house. And when I was doing it, you kick a door down, if it's the wrong door, you say, "Oops, sorry." And,
yeah, just move on.
Oh, yeah, it was all over. I mean, you know, but now if you kick a door down, you better bring somebody out of that house that's wanted. You know, the guy you want or somebody you better bring out in cuffs and take them to jail, because if you don't, you're liable for all the damage and the people, they sue you. And, you know, it really gets complicated. You know, these people in these drug houses, they know everything to say. You walk in, they see your gun. They say, "Oh, this guy pulled a gun on my kids." I mean, they make all kind of accusations about you, but most of the time police know they're lying. But if you're in a different state, nobody knows you. Like Illinois, you can't go into Illinois and pick up anybody because they don't recognize the bail bond system. Illinois has their own bonding system through the state of Illinois. So they threatened to put me in jail up there if I took people out, and I brought 6 or 8 out, but I brought 3 out at one time, one night.
Wow.
And, it was just, they agreed to go with me, and, I didn't force them to go. It's just a way you can do it and get away with it without being, locked up. But nowadays, the way I hear it, I mean, I'm always getting calls wanting me to go find this guy. Every once in a while, I'll go do it, But, guys, they'll call me and say, David, I need you to help me on this guy. He's down here in Alabama, and he's going to shoot somebody. They said he's very bad and mean. He's on a $200,000 bond. Can you help me? Well, see, the police won't help them because the police, they're not, the bondsman is a civil matter, contractual matter with them. And the police, you go up and tell them, hey, that guy's in that house. Well, they can get in a lot of problems by going in there trying to get a guy they don't know, and they check your computer, and sometimes they don't put them in the computer. The federal computer, they put them in local computer, but not in the NCIC computer. Now, he called me up. I'll give you one instance here. A couple of weeks ago, a guy called me up one day, and everybody scared of him. The big bond is here, and I said, okay. You want me to go with you, or you want me to go get him? Well, I just want you to go with me. So on the way down, I met him up the road and went down there. And I said, now, are you going in the house? He said, oh, no, I'm going to the back door. I said, so you want me to go in the house?
Yeah.
He said, oh, yeah, I'm paying you. You go in. You go in. I knocked on the door. The guy come to the door. I grabbed him by the hair, pulled him out, threw him on the ground, handcuffed him, dragged him out, put him in the car, and hollered for the guy in the back. He was hiding back there somewhere. I don't know where he was, but he come running around. I mean, he didn't give me no resistance, and I didn't have to physically, I just kind of guided him to the ground, and told him who I was and handcuffed him, and he didn't fight or nothing. Wasn't been no sense fighting, but not with me. My baby needed a new pair of shoes. I had to arrest him.
Well, let me ask you this. Because you said that sometimes you would get calls from people that would want you to grab someone, and they wouldn't have the paperwork. They would just want to say it to you over the phone, and you wouldn't do that. You wanted to do it by the book. What would you say are the most common misconceptions about a bounty hunter and what a bounty hunter does?
Well, most time people think a bounty hunter, they say that the word bounty hunter. They don't understand how the judicial system works with bondsmen and all that, But they think you can just go out and grab the guy and throw him in the car. Don't have to have any paperwork. And, that's wrong. You got to have authorization from the bondsman to act as their representative. You have to have a certified copy of the rearrest warrant with you on that guy. You have to have identification on that guy, and you have to have identification on yourself. And a lot of states demand that you follow their regulations now. Used to is an 1872 Supreme Court decision that said you can go across state lines, other states, or whatever you have to do to get the guy and bring him back. You can still do that, but you have to follow their local laws and regulations. So, it's not as easy as people think. And if you don't have that paperwork and you grab somebody, they can actually get you for kidnapping. And people say, oh, we can do a citizen's arrest. Well, I wouldn't advise that. I think that's Andy Griffith. I think that's Andy Griffith stuff. I mean, I don't know. I've never been able to do a citizen's arrest. But if you got them, and like Illinois now, I said you couldn't go into Illinois, but if you know a guy's wanted and you got paper, you have paperwork on him, you can't take him out forcefully, but you can hold him and call the local authorities, and they'll come pick him up and hold him for Connecticut or whatever state you're working for, and you'll go to Cook County Jail. Now, if they find drugs or anything on him, whatever, it's a different story. Now he's got to be prosecuted there and cleared before you can ship him to Connecticut, which could be years. So that's when you go in and try to smooth things out and get them out of there. And I've never had a trouble getting them out. I've had the police tell me they're going to arrest me if I bust down the door on the house, but it never happened. I didn't have to, but I very seldom had to break in a door after I learned how to do it. And, I had all kinds of uniforms with me. I had FedEx, Overnight Express. I had Utica Boilermaker shirts, and I had all kind of stuff, And if I was going into an apartment building, people will always open the door for a Boilermaker. They want that heat.
Yeah.
And they'll open that door for you. If you're a utility man or you got to look like one. You know, put a baseball hat on. You stop in these uniform shops and get different uniforms. And they just see the uniform and they open the door for you. Now you get to the basement. And after you get into the basement, you can find your person, the phone number on all them phone boxes. Like New York City has 2,000 families in one building. And, you know, I'd go in there at 2 o'clock in the morning and get one guy out of 2,000 families. And police, I'd say, y'all want to go with me? Oh, no. You go do it yourself. I mean, it's a bad place. But everybody knew me. Everybody knew I wasn't a snitch, and everybody knew I wasn't going to tell anything about the drugs. Waste of time for me to say anything to anybody about drugs or anything in New York City, because they don't care what I tell them. They're not going to act on any information I give them because they don't know that. You know, they have to go through. They say, how do you know it's marijuana? Well, I don't. But I mean, it looked like it. And they'd say, well, you got a test kit? Nope. So you don't know it's marijuana? Nope. I mean, that's what kind of questions you get if you do that. And you say, well, he had a big bag of cocaine. How do you know? Well, that's what they told me. Okay. You didn't test it. I don't have no tester. Okay. See, it's a bunch of crap that I tell them anything because it ain't going to help nobody but hurt me. And, you know, that's why I got such a good name in New York City. People knew if I told them, hey, I'll give you $1,000, tell me where this guy is. They tell me. Most of them would tell me. And the next day I'd come back and pay the guy the reward. And I'd tell him, I say, hey, don't go out here and buy you a big car or something. I'm giving you $5,000. This guy, you know, oh, no, I wouldn't do that, Doc. Okay. Next time I go around, he got a new car. Ain't a new one, but newer than what he had. And they think people can't put that together. You know, they got the reward for telling on somebody. So you try to help them out, and then you say, what's the use? You know, they're not going to listen to me anyway. They're lost cause. And people say, why you give them that money? Well, I couldn't find a guy without it because they got too many snitches. They got too many what they call lookouts. They got them on every car. They know when you're there on the block. As soon as you pull up, the word's out. Hey, Doc's on the block, man. You know, and I just sit in my car, and I had drug dealers come up and tell me, Doc, man, why don't you move back over here on the other side, man? Go to Brooklyn somewhere. Don't be up here. You messing my business up. And I said, well, you can tell me where this guy is, and your business can go back, and I'll leave. And he'd look at the picture, and he said, man, he's over in that building there, third one, the second floor or whatever. And I'd go get him, and I'd leave, and, you know, they carried on with their business, and, you know.
The period of time where you became a bounty hunter coincided with that period where you had that lawsuit from John Stossel, who you mentioned earlier. Was that period of time just for you like a crash course in how the legal system works?
Yeah, and over the years of bounty hunting, you learn a lot about that work. And, you know, the Stossel, I was never sued on that Stossel case. Vince McMahon's the one that got sued. And he's the one that paid the $425,000 to John Stossel and never asked me a question. I never went to court. I was never charged with anything. And then after he paid him $425, he comes up and says, oh, we're suing David for $425,000 that I paid John Stossel. Huh, what? Why? Well, you signed a contract that you was responsible for your actions around and in the ring, around the ring, on the floor, whatever. Well, if you call that a contract, which was proven it wasn't a contract, it was just something he fixed up for himself. And I was under no contract when John Stossel, that deal happened. And that's the reason I wasn't sued or anything else. Vince is the one that got sued. And then he turns around and sues me and puts lien on all my property, him and his lawyers and all that, all my property in different states to want me to pay him the $425,000. And his wife said, in one deposition, he said, well, we're just going to take his, money for all the entertainment tapes and all that until he pays the $425,000. And that's where the lawsuit got in there, all that stuff, see. And they drug that thing out about 7 years. And, and then there was a tape that they got, Vince McMahon's lawyers and his people that took from my lawyer that implicated some of the people in the WWE, WWF as sexual predators, I'd call them. And the tapes, my lawyer said, if you give that tape up, you're going to lose it. But if you don't give it up, you can never talk about this stuff again because the court has ordered you to give it up. It's discovery. So she said, if you give it up, you're going to lose it, David. And I just want you, I said, well, maybe I should make copies. And she said, no, copies are no good in a court of law. And copies would just be a record of what is on tape, and that's not going to be admissible, so you couldn't use it. So anyway, they got it, and the court ordered them to return it to me. I never got it. That's been almost 30 years. They refused to return it to me, and the court ordered them to turn it to me, and they come up to, we inadvertently lost it.
What was on that tape?
Oh, that's what I'm going to talk about on the next book. That's reason we didn't want to put it on this book, because Vince McMahon would have squashed it probably, or tried to, so we didn't even talk about it at that time. But it's some heavy-duty stuff. It fit right into what's going on today in the government and, all the sexual allegations and stuff. And it's a shame, really, what was on the tape. And, plus there's other things that needs to be brought out that I have. I have probably 8 or 10 depositions of different people and different things. And
right, you kept all the depositions throughout the years, correct?
Yeah, all the depositions was gift to me, returned to me when I settled the case with Vince. Just all of them was gift to me, and I started reading them, and I said, how can they? They said I tried to extort $5 million through Geraldo. I've never met Geraldo or any of the reporters. I don't know any of the people. And let me tell you, I was telling somebody the other day, if you're not a billionaire, don't try to fight a billionaire, even if you're right, because they will run you in the ground. They'll try to break you, and they'll take every dime they can get from you. And they'll have you on more, like Vince has got no telling how many lawyers on retainers. And they'll have deposition after deposition after deposition. And
they'll dry you out.
Oh, yeah. And then they say, hey, we're not going to pay him ever a dime. And if he's awarded $100, I'll go to my grave owing him that. I won't pay him. I'll appeal everything. I mean, this is what my lawyer was telling me he said. And I said, well, let him go. So, I can't do nothing. I mean, my lawyer dropped me after 7 years and said, I can't fight Vince no more. Well, I wonder why. Well, I'd say my opinion of it is that Vince paid him off like he pays everybody else off. And, of course, my lawyer said, I can't do nothing no more, And I tried to talk to him and said, man, you agreed to do this all the way through to the end. He said, well, this is the end. I can't afford to fight Vince McMahon. Well, why didn't you tell me that in the first place? Before you got all this money from me to sue him and take it, But I've had very bad experiences with attorneys. I've had 1 or 2 that was okay, but most of them, oh my goodness. They ought to be in the Hall of Fame of thieves and liars and scammers, and they know every little trick in the book, and it all comes down to if you go against them, you better have a lot of money. And if you got a lot of money, leave them alone. Just go home. You don't need that little damn. But oh man, they just they try to destroy you with lies after lie after lie. They tried to say I had a attack dog that tracked down bears and killed bears.
Whoa, that's interesting.
That's what I said. I said, yeah. I mean, people up north there probably know what kind of dog I had. It was a Bouvier de Flounder, which was about 160 pounds, and he was capable of tracking a bear down, but I never hunt bear. And they had one guy on there that they said, oh, David, did the dog try to hurt you? He said, no, the dog was great, man. And then they got mad because the guy said that. Well, we heard he was a bad dog. Yeah, he was AKC registered and a support dog, so it couldn't have been that bad, But that's what kind of stuff they try to turn on you.
That may be my new favorite Dr. D story. That Dr. D is so bad that he has a support dog that hunts and kills bears.
Yeah, and it's in depositions, all this stuff. And plus, guns. They asked him, they said, does Dr. D have guns? Yes, he does. And they said, do you think he's got one now? Yes, he does. In this deposition? Yes, he does. and the woman in there weighed about 500 pounds, had the lips all red, lipstick. She started hollering, "Oh, doctor, you got a gun! He got a gun!" People started running around the deposition. I mean, it's like one of them shows where you got three women up there, big heavy set women singing that, "Wahoo, wahoo, woo, woo," you know. And she hollering, "Oh, he got a gun!" And they were trying to talk to me, the lawyers, and I said, "Hey." And my lawyer said, "David, have you got a gun?" I said, "Do you want to know, Eileen?" She said, "Yes." "Yes, I do." All of a sudden, "Oh, he has got a gun!" And I mean, it was a comic strip, man. And they asked me, they said, "Will you put the gun up on the counter here and leave it up on?" I said, "Nope." He said, "Will you put it at our desk out front?" I said, "Nope." He said, "What will you do?" I said, "I'll lock it in your safe, but you got to give me your combination to your safe." He said, "No, we're not going to do that." I said, "Well, I'm not locking it up then." Then I agreed finally to give my attorney the shells out of it, and I put it back in my pocket. But when I pulled it out for the counter, you could hear that big, heavy-set girl again. "Hey, my God!" And people started running again. It was like, I mean, really, a cartoon could have never been so, you know. And
but you were licensed. You were licensed to carry, and you're a bounty hunter.
Yes, I was licensed, and I told them I have a license for this gun to carry, and I think I had at that time. That was before they started reciprocating different states and all that. But I had Rhode Island, I had Connecticut, I had different ones. I mean, Missouri, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, all these, you know, and. You know, and then we agreed that I'd never bring a gun into a deposition again. Now, we agreed that amongst all of us, right? Now, 2 days later, we get a court order from a judge, sent it to my attorney and me. David Schultz will never be able to carry another gun in a deposition. If he does, he'll be locked up for this year, this year, this year. And we'd already agreed, you know, in writing that I'd never bring another gun in a deposition because everybody's scared, nobody want to talk. But they sent me a court order from the judge. But yet they can't give me a court order and enforce it, getting my tapes back. But that's another story for another day, right? Yeah, I tell you, I mean, it was a rough world out there when I was in New York and all up there Northeast. And, you know, I didn't have much trouble in Minneapolis because we worked so many different states from Minneapolis, you know. But up there, you're in the middle of all that, man. You got some of the big time crooks up there.
Oh yeah, we certainly do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're around. They're everywhere. Scammers and you know. And if you ain't careful, you'll get a hold of one of them, and they'll make you convince you that they're doing right, and they will take everything you got, and it ain't no recourse for you. Because they can't find them anymore. I
got recourse. I'm going to call Dr. D and his bear-killing dog to go get my
There you
back.
go. Yeah, right. Get that bear killer, yeah. Well, they asked the guy, you know, they asked him, they said, "Do you think that bear could have killed a bear?" I mean, that dog killed a bear. He said, "He probably could have. But did he ever attack you?" He said, "No." He said, "Did he attack anybody?" He said, "No. But he could hunt bear, right?" And he said, "Well, that's what y'all are saying. I ain't never know David go hunt no bear. But if I was a bear and he was hunting him, I'd be moving because he's going to find him." Like I said, it's kind of like a comic story once you start tearing it down after it's over, you know. But, you know, one thing about it, though, if you're going to be a bounty hunter, you got to be smart about it. These guys go out there. I remember here a few months ago, there was 2 bounty hunters got shot in Texas, went in to get this guy in a car dealership. And they rushed in on him. The guy had a gun, pulled it, shot both of them, and they shot him too. All 3 of them dead. But, you know, you don't do that. I mean, that's stupid, you know.
Do you like the movie Midnight Run?
Yep.
That's a great movie.
I watched it, and parts of it would have been very possible, and the rest of it was just entertainment. But the idea of what they was doing is absolutely right, you know.
Yeah.
That happens. I mean, things like that happen every day in bounty hunting, unless you don't know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, you know, you can, I mean, I brought people back I brought some high government officials back that skipped out on bonds.
Wow, really?
Yes, and you'll read about that in the book. And these guys skip out, and and they get on a bond because it's like a domestic dispute. And then you start reading the police report, and this guy beat the heck out of his wife. He threatened to kill her, tried to stab her, all this. And once I caught up with him, he was in Tampa, Florida, I believe it was, down there close to Tampa. And the guy that was with me was Ken Passarello, Mr. Universe. He was former Mr. Universe. And he took the trip with me to cover the back door. And as I went to the dealership, this guy said, "You have no authority here." And they've already called the police down there because it's a dealership. I said, "Well, yes, I do, and you're under arrest." He run into his office. I went behind him. He grabbed the telephone up like he was going to call. I jerked it out of his hand and grabbed him and cleaned the desk with him. You know how you sweep a desk down?
Oh, yeah.
Just cleaned his desk down. He hit the floor. I handcuffed him. Here come the cops. And lo and behold, one of the policemen used to wrestle with me under a mask in Pensacola, Florida. And he said, "David Schultz, man, don't you remember me?" He said, "No, you wouldn't do that because I was under a mask," but I knew who he was. And he said, "Wow." And the guy started hollering, "Hey, he can't do that. I know my rights. I'm just here." Blah, 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 blah. And the guy said, "I'd advise you to shut up before David gags you." So we did have to gag him, get him out, and put him in the car, and he's screaming the whole time. After we got a couple 100 miles up the road, he calmed down just like a baby the rest of the trip,
Who was the masked wrestler?
The Red Baron he went as. He was under a mask, and it was in Pensacola, Florida, in about 1976. 75, 76, and he was doing, he was down there working under a mask, and I had no idea, how small this world is. You run up on a cop's call to a pickup, and it's him. And he said, "David Schultz, Dr. D, ma'am." At first, I thought, yeah, right. I mean, he's friendly, so I wanted to be friendly. And then he said, "I used to fight you in the ring all the time. You beat the hell out of me every time." I said, "Well, that one, that was a gimme." It's a small world out there, who you find. And when you're picking people up, when you're bounty hunting, I know they got a couple of bounty hunters on TV that do this stuff, and they want to save everybody's life and tell them all about religion and all that. But let me tell you, New York City is a different entity, a different place, different mindset. Everything up there is different. It's like, I used to tell people, you go to New York, they'll eat you up, man. He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's like a jungle. You go to a jungle, you don't know how the animals treat, they'll eat you up. It's just like New York. If you don't know and you walk along there, they spot you in a minute who you are."
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, my God, here's one. We're going to rob him in just a minute. We're going to get him right down here." And, you'd be surprised how many robberies go on that never gets reported because they're embarrassed. People don't want to tell you they lost everything they had in the hotel room. And some girl made a move on. They went to the hotel room, and she handcuffed him, put him on the bed, took everything he had, and left the room. So he don't want to tell everybody, "Hey, I did this," So they let it go. They don't even worry about it. Oh yeah, exactly. It's a cool world out there, and people don't understand. I've been around the world probably 6 times or more. And, I went to Cairo, Egypt, and got people, Saudi Arabia, the edge there. And I've had people call me from other countries, turn themselves in because I could get them back into the country, and they couldn't get back because they didn't have a passport. And I would get their passports from the state's attorney's office and go and get them because they have to put their passport up. And when they leave, they have a San Domingo passport, but they can get out of the country with that, but they can't get to the United States with that. So it's you got to have all kind of ways you pick people up. There's a lot more than people think it is. And, I'm in the thousands I picked up. And I did it over 17 years, and finally I had to start slowing down because it was getting really, really tough. And I imagine today out there in New York City, it's super tough. My biggest thing in New York, though, was I was down on the Grand Concourse, which is down around Harlem, New York, Hell's Kitchen and all that, which is super bad place.
Yeah, especially back then. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was over there going, I thought it was a little puppy over there. It was a rat. I said, my God, that's a rat. That ain't no dog, boy. I told him, God. Oh, yeah. A rat comes out, looks like a dog. And, it might have been a bear-eating dog. I don't know. But no, it wasn't that big. But, he did, though. He was a good 15 pound, probably.
Wow.
Rat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, one last question. I know you're saving the tape talk for the book 2, but just the one thing I am curious about is what year would this tape have been from?
What year? What now? Hang on. My dog's getting a... Leave it alone. Don't eat that bear. Go ahead. Do that one more time. I'm sorry.
The tape that you talked about earlier, I know you're saving it for book 2, but what year is it exactly from?
That was, that tape was about, let me think here a minute now. That was about 1985 to 1990, I guess. When Tony Altomoy, I don't know if you know him or not. He was like...
Sure. He lived in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he was Vince McMahon's right-hand man. In other words, anything Vince wanted, he would ask Tony, relay the message. And all that's on the tapes. And
wow.
As soon as they got them tapes, they got rid of them. And my attorney was Eileen McGann. Eileen McGann is the wife of Dick Morris. You know Dick Morris?
The political consultant.
Yeah, and now he was Clinton's right-hand man.
He's a conservative who Clinton hired when he ran for re-election because he thought he needed that edge. And
That's right, exactly.
And then Dick Morris and Hillary hated each other. And Dick Morris got pushed out, but then he also had that scandal. I don't even know if it's a sex scandal. It's a scandal where... Was it they caught him with hookers and shoes? I forget exactly what it was, but it was something.
They were sucking toes. He was sucking a woman's toes. And I told him, I said, well, hell, y'all can't feel bad. And maybe she liked it. But Eileen, his wife, was my attorney. When we had to go to court a few times against Hartford Police Department, they arrested me, and I had 3 guns on me, and they arrested me and charged me with interfering with them, and we took them to court and sued them, and I think we got about $25,000 federal court out of them, false arrest, and it's a lot of things, a lot of lawsuits and things, but Eileen was a good attorney, very good, but she told me, she said, David, you're not going to get them tapes back if we turn them over. So she listened to the tape, and her paralegal listened to the tapes, so they know what was on them and verify my story anytime I want to talk about them. So then they sent them in, and I got all kind of requests from Eileen requesting them to turn them back, do this. They said, oh, we sent them off, and they was unauditable. And she said they was perfect shape when they left here. So, that's what I say, man. They tear that stuff up, and they tear you up. You go by the law. And if you gave the tapes up for discovery, you should be able to copy them for yourself. And they said, no, you can't do it. It's not admissible, But anyway, that's
going to be in book 2. But today we're going to talk more about book 1. And of course, once again, book 1, Don't Call Me Fake, the real story of Dr. D. David Schultz with John Cosper. Dr. D, let's go back to the very beginning. When did you first see wrestling, and what were your first impressions?
I first seen it about 71, 72. And my uncle tried to wrestle way back when I was 12, 14 years old. We'd go down with him to the studio and watch him, wrestle. But he never made it. He quit. It was too rough for him. And when I seen it, I was running an oxygen acetylene welding truck because I was a certified welder. And I went by Herb Welch's house in Dyersburg, Tennessee. Herb Welch was one of the Welch boys.
Yeah.
He was a bad Southern champion, and, he used to tell me stories about on the oil field where he worked and part-time, and he would go in these towns and challenge anybody in town. If they could stay in the ring with him 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever. Nobody ever stayed in there with him. This guy was a super, super shooter. Anyway, I asked him to train me, and he said, okay, I'll do that. And after 3 months of torture, I'd have to come home at night. The first 3 or 4 weeks, I'd come home from Dyersburg, Tennessee. I lived in Jackson, Tennessee at that time, and I'd have to blow my horn, have my wife to come out and help me out of the car. I could not get out of the car. I mean, my legs were hurting, my back. I couldn't do anything because he stretched me so bad trying to get me to quit. That's where it used to be when you got in the business. They try to make you quit, and most people did quit. And if you stayed with it, then they would see you meant business, and then they would start helping you, if you could be a wrestler. So he taught me for about 3 months and taught me all. But really, he was shooting on me all the time, and I didn't know that. I mean, he was hurting me. And then he'd bring guys in, pro wrestlers, to work with me, and they told him, hey, we got to quit coming down here because this kid's going to cause us to hurt ourselves because we can't handle him, because I was pretty rough growing up. And I didn't know anything about wrestling, being controlled or whatever, entertainment or whatever. I thought it was real.
You weren't smartened up.
Fight.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And then Herb told me one day, he called me out and said, boy, you ain't going to make a dime if I don't smarten you up. So forget everything I've showed you so far, and I'm going to show you how to be a pro wrestler. But don't forget this stuff I show you because you'll need it all through your wrestling career because people will try you. So he started off showing me that and this here and this. And within 3 months, I was in the ring working. And I don't know how many times I had to fall back on his moves. He showed me how to hook people and how to lock them up and what to do to them. And I'd go to Japan, first thing they try you. If you can't take care of yourself, they'll eat you up over there every night, And then different places, eat you up, all those places, they would eat you up. I mean, you have to be able to take care of yourself in there. And then I got the reputation that, I was pretty good. And, and then Vince started using me a lot of times to hurt people or get them out of the business. He would come in and tell me, David, this guy here needs to be out of the business. I don't want him in the business no more because he was going around talking neighborhoods and harassing little kids in the yards and all. He's just trying to be a hero or something. So, I'd take him in the ring and, accidentally he would get a dislocated knee or a dislocated shoulder. Accidentally, now I'm telling you. He wasn't wrestling no more. And then the word got out about me that Vince was using me to do all that. And it wasn't that much of it, but every once in a while one come in. Everybody's scared of it. It's supposed to be pretty tough. Well, I don't think I found one yet that is that tough. The ones that I did find was tough is already passed on. So, there was some tough ones, but like I said, the whole breed is already gone.
How much of an advantage do you think you had, though? I mean, when people talk about a lot of the Tennessee wrestling in the 70s, a lot of the guys you think of, especially the top guys like Lawler, and, you don't really think of him as being a shooter because he wasn't. You think about guys who come out of Florida being shooters, but how much of an advantage was it for you after all the pain of the first few months that you trained with Herb Welch, that he taught you all of these things?
Yeah, because half of these guys, I'd say 3/4 of these guys, or 80% of these guys, never knew anything about like the Oklahoma tumbleweed, or, how to hook a guy in a headlock where he couldn't get out, how to use a wrist lock so he can't get out. I mean, where you can hurt him real bad by just a wrist lock. Standing wrist lock, separate your shoulder. They don't know this because nobody ever taught them this. They taught them to go in there and fall on the mat and hit a guy and miss the guy 6-8 inches. And they just never knew anything about real wrestling, how to do that, And there was a few in there that would try it, but they just, I don't know, they just didn't know how to do anything. You'd hook up with them, and all of a sudden the guy's on the floor, his eyes busted, bleeding, and, they had to run him to the hospital. He get 8 or 10 stitches, and he says, it was an accident. Yeah, right. Wasn't no accident. It was done on purpose because you was an asshole. You was trying to show off, and you had to be put in your place. And, if you are, I'd go into a ring with a guy, and like Antonio Inoki over in Japan. We had one of the toughest matches we ever had, both of us. And probably during that match, Inoki had me hooked 3 or 4 times. And I also had him hooked 3 or 4 times. But we're not going to remain in a hooking position and give up in front of 100,000 people and mess the match up for our ego. Because when you're hooked and when it's over. But you can let that go and continue the match on, and nobody else knows. But you guys know, so that was one of them kind of matches, me and him. It was a stiff match, and several times, I had him where it would have been all over if I wanted to be all over. And also, he had me. It would have been over. All he had to do is just a little bit more pressure, and it would have been over. But we was professional enough to know you don't mess up the matches. You got 100,000 people looking at you, paid good money. Don't spoil it for them. It's entertainment, or whatever they want to call it. I'm anything but a fake. I'm an entertainer, exhibitionist, cartoon character, whatever they want to call me. But I don't like the word fake because I'm not fake. And people say, oh, y'all don't really do that, do you? Oh, no, we fall off that top turnbuckle. We don't really hit that floor. We got a little invisible thing. You didn't see that, people. He said, no, it looked like to me you hit the floor. I said, well, what are you telling me I didn't for? Well, you got up. Well, people just, they want to believe other things, but they see it and they say, oh my God, how he survived that. And Floyd Lawler in Memphis, me and Lawler was partners for a couple of years, and Jerry's a good guy. Don't get me wrong, he's a good guy. But as far as him beating somebody in the ring, it'd have to be. Well, I don't know anybody that bad that he could beat. Actually, he's learned all these years some things, but Jerry never was a fighter or. When I was wrestling with him, I'd have to take up for him at night, getting in the car, people pull guns. And he said, David, this guy's got a gun. I sneak around, knock him out, and, we drive off. But things like that happen all the time. But Jerry's no tough guy. I mean, he wouldn't have won all these matches they talk about winning if he didn't own the business. People don't realize that, And, or Memphis, Tennessee, I started basically in Memphis with Nick Goulas and Nashville, Memphis, all that area.
Yeah.
And, Lawler was with Jerry, saying who's going to win, who's going to lose. And it's okay. I mean, entertainment and all that. But then when you graduate from that and you go to Japan and you end up in Canada for 3 years and you end up in Puerto Rico, you end up over these countries where they think it's no joke and people are trying to hurt you. That's when you don't see Lawler over there in any of them countries because they'll hurt him unless he's got a good in with somebody and got all of it figured out before, But he's not a tough guy. He's a nice guy, I guess. I guess he's still alive, ain't he?
He still is.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe some of that plastic surgery got to him. I don't know. I told somebody that the other day. I said, damn, what happened to Lawler, man? They said, what about it? I said, it's plastic surgery. Him and Dundee both. They must have used the same screwed up guy.
Yeah, I mean, a little off topic here, Dr. D, but you are a doctor, so we can talk about this for a second. What is going on with the facelifts in professional wrestling?
There's a bunch of them look like to me they had facelifts, Not me. I guess they think they're getting old and they want to look pretty or they want to have a young girl or whatever. I don't know. I look just like I did 20 years ago.
No facelift. So you're saying here on the record officially, you will not get a facelift.
No, never, not me. I've never had no. Good looking as I am, they couldn't do that on facelift, make that good. I tell my wife, I said, man, I look just like I did 20 years ago. She said, look in another mirror, David. And so now I don't look in mirrors no more pictures, because I am getting a few years on me, and of course my beard's snow white, my hair is snow white, and according to what part of my life you see me at, I've got shoulder length hair, and my beard looks like a ZZ Top, but I'm still pretty darn good. I still got one good fight left in me, and I'm trying to find somebody to take that out of me, but I can't find nobody.
Maybe we could have some recommendations. We'll talk a little bit off air. That's some recommendations I'll give you.